Hey, welcome to my new series on the Just Listed and Just Sold campaign. Really what we're talking about is talking to the neighbors about your listing and or your sale. So step one in mastering any new lead source is to really start with taking an assessment and doing an audit on your mindset, your attitude, or your personal psychology around this lead source. So I'm going to grab my notes and I'm going to rip through some of the most important things that I wrote down to help you go from disempowered resistance to empowered and inspired. Okay, so let's start in. When we're talking about you going and talking to the neighbors of your listing and sale, whether it's over the phone or it's at the door, here's the first question I wrote down is, what is your mindset about talking to the neighbors about the listing or sale that you have? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Is there a negative thought there? And does that negative thought kind of go, oh, they don't really interested. Oh, they're kind of irritated. Oh, if I called them, they will. If I knocked on the door, they will. Obviously, COVID, appropriate. But beyond COVID or before COVID, what was that? What's the negative thought that's in your head? Pops up. Good. Now, one of the questions that I get all the time is, hey, is there a Just Listed, Just Sold marketing campaign that produces a result? So what is your thoughts and perception about the marketing campaign of Just Listed, Just Sold? What have you heard in the past? What have you learned? Have you tested this out? Have you tried it? Did it work? What are the negative thoughts you have there, or positive, whatever? Okay. So what do you personally think about making phone calls or door knocking, right? Do you have resistance around making a phone call to a neighbor or door knocking? What's that all about? Okay. What do you think people think about you? So, what's the perception of maybe some people in your office about you doing this? Or what is your perception of the neighbors? Like, what do you think, how they're going to respond to you? Okay. So what we did is we just did a series of questions to take stock of your personal mindset about this topic. So, the conclusion of the answers to those questions is, are you empowered? If I stack the thoughts that you had from those questions, if I stack those up, would that be disempowering you, meaning causing resistance, meaning holding you back from taking action? Or would it be empowering you and you'd be like, yes, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I should do more of this. This is the most important step one. And the goal of today's session is to reframe, or what we call create a new context, meaning let's take you from wherever you're at, maybe disempowered, maybe some resistance. Let's reframe the conversation so that you're empowered and inspired. So let's take a look. Let's ask some more questions here. So do you believe that the neighbors care about the new listing and the new sale in their neighborhood, their community? Every time you list and sell a home, doesn't that have a direct effect on the perceived market value of their home in the neighborhood? Yes. Does the sale of your home have a direct impact on the neighbor's net worth? Yes. How much of price fluctuations had an impact on the US and Canada in the last 2 decades? So from 2000 to 2020, 2 decades, how much of price fluctuations impacted the lives of families in North America? A lot, right? So what's happened in the last what happened from 2007 to 11, right, in the United States? 2007, 2011, right? So that was pretty dramatic. Prices went straight rocketing down. How did that influence the lives of neighbors and families and the community? Now, fast forward, here we are, 2012 in the US, mostly, to 2020. Prices. And how's that affected positively or negatively the families in neighborhoods and communities, their net worth, what they've been able to do, and all of the great stuff that's happening today with all of that equity? Interesting. So how has prices impacted the lives of and the net worth of all of the families inside of your community, even for you. Okay, so does it make sense why back in the early 2000s, Zillow created this Zestament, and how many people today go to Zillow specifically to look at their Zestament? Wow, do a lot of people go to Zillow? Oh, I think it's the most frequented real estate website in the United States by a long shot. What's the one thing that they provided early in the game that the real estate community never figured out or couldn't figure out? They provided a Zestimate, an estimated value of their home. And so why do you think Zillow has so much traffic? So now, do we, real estate agents, as an industry, should we just let the neighbors go to Zillow to understand the value of their home? Or do you think maybe we should take responsibility and have a conversation there? How important is it that the neighbors pay attention to prices in the neighborhood and what's going on with the real estate market? How important is that? Now, they all look at their stock portfolio. How often do people look at their stock portfolio? Daily, weekly, once a month? So how often should they look at the asset called real estate? Daily, weekly, once a month, right? Now, are you providing that service, or are they going to Zillow? So which one do you want them to do? Do you want them to be talking to you, or do you want them going to Zillow? Interesting. So you can see now, with this new, you can see where we're going with this mindset. All of a sudden, there's a new mindset shift going on here. So let me ask you the next question. What's the perceived value of the service? The service of letting the neighbors know about prices and what's going on in the market. What's the perceived value? Interesting. So how important is it that we as the local professional make ourselves available to the neighbor, to the community that we serve, to answer any questions that they have about prices and values in the community and what's going on with the market? How important is that as the local professional that we make ourselves available? So have you ever heard the phrase, serve first, sell second? I picked this up from the great book Dan Pink wrote, and it was fantastic, right? And he said, serve first, sell second. So the big mindset that I see in people who are doing just listed, just sold is they're actually trying to get a listing first. And they have no thoughts about service. And so there's no serve first. There's just, how do I get a listing? How many leads can I get? How do I find the next seller? Serve first, provide the update, make yourself available, talk about prices in the neighborhood, talk about the market, ask them if they have any questions about those things. Serve first, sell second. What happened is when I shifted people's mindset to serve first, sell second, all of a sudden the number of conversations went through the roof and the number of leads went through the roof. The number of opportunities went through the roof because we made ourselves available to have the conversation first, then went and found opportunities. So the quote that I live by, that was instilled in me by my father, was, the level of the service that you offer is in direct proportion to your income. So if we increase the quantity and the quality of the service that we offer the neighbors of our listings and sales, what will happen to your income? So now let's take some stock. What's going on in your head now? What's the new mindset, right, around communicating with the neighbors and seeing who would like to talk about what's going on with prices in the neighborhood or the market? What's the new mindset that you have about calling or door knocking or sending just listed, just sold postcards and educating the neighborhood? Is there a new mindset here? What we did is we reframed the mindset, reframed the task of just listed, just sold phone calls so I could maybe get some listings, right? To an empowering and inspiring context of, I should communicate with this community, with this neighborhood. Let me figure out how to address and answer as many of the questions that may be in the mind of the neighbors. And the people that probably have questions usually are in the consideration set of the move. So therefore, you'll find the next listing, serve first, sell second. So you can see I've created a new, you have created a new empowered context for doing the prospecting, doing the door knocking, doing the campaign. From this empowered context, this is where I saw results going through the roof when I got a bunch of people just into this mindset. So now let's make some notes. Okay, what do you need to remind yourself of before you go do this activity, door knock or make the phone calls? What do you need to remind you of? Is there a quote? Is there an affirmation? Is there something that inspires you so that when we go in to make these calls, you kind of read that quote, read that affirmation, it kind of reminds you of what state you want to be in so that you can go make a positive impact and serve the community that you live in. Now, next up is we're going to talk about the skills to make this all work. And so again, if you have any questions about, and you're interested in coaching with me or discovering more about coaching with me, just jump into my, Coach with Patrick playlist and kind of go through a little bit of the, all of the videos that I created on just what it's like to coach with me, and reach out and let's talk about it. Thanks so much. Have a great day. And you will see the next skills video on the next session.